Welcome back, Billiken fans. It's Zach Miller, Peter Hale. This is the Midtown Madness podcast. We've got a special little bonus episode for you here. Today, we have probably the most exciting guest we could have for you at this particular moment in Billiken history, I guess. Katie Shields and her number 23 ranked St. Louis University women's soccer team are coming off a week that saw them topple number 8 Arkansas at home in front of the second largest home crowd in program history before traveling to Des Moines to take a commanding 3-0 win over the Drake Bulldogs. This Thursday, the 25th SLU will host number 15 Notre Dame in what's shaping up to be another massive test for the program. The Billikens are going to try to set the attendance record for Hermann Stadium. Now in her 10th season at SLU, the Billikens have been picked to win the Atlantic 10 Conference with 5 preseason all-conference players and are looking to make the NCAA tournament for a 5th consecutive season. And she's the owner of the longest intro in podcast history, Katie Shields.
I'm not that old.
Thank you for joining the Midtown Madness podcast. How are you doing? It's good to see you again.
It's good to be here. You guys are working overtime this week. Didn't you already dropped one today, right?
Yeah, we were on. We usually record at 8, so we were up. We did an hour and a half yesterday. Thanks to you guys. You guys given us a lot to talk about.
Our pleasure. Happy to do that.
We really want to talk, kind of make this like a little bit of a preview, even though we're kind of started the season already.
Yeah.
But the schedule this year is just an absolute gauntlet, and I'm really wondering, like, how did this come together? You get opponents like Arkansas and Notre Dame at home, and then you get some quality teams like Xavier on the road. A lot of our fans, and we have a lot of experience with men's basketball, and it's really hard to get some of those marquee teams to come to your place anymore. So I'm kind of wondering how you were able to do that.
Yeah, it's obviously been a process. These weren't games we were searching after 8-9 years ago. But over the last, I would say 5 or 6 years, we've been a good RPI. Our winning percentage has been fantastic. And so some of these other schools kind of look around and they want to play us. We've had to turn away, almost some games that didn't make sense, but we paid our dues to get them. I mean, we went up 2019. We opened at Notre Dame. We lost on a PK 1-0, kind of late in game there. We obviously in this COVID spring went down to Arkansas, beat them 3-1. And these are actually the return games of that. Hosted Xavier last year, now headed back there. So I think the previous year's teams have really put us in a position to have our pick of the schedule. Obviously, we want to challenge ourselves, but we also want to win. And so we want to prepare ourselves for the league, have a good record, have a good RPI. And we told this current team we're kind of picking a fight with them with this schedule. Like, what do we got? What are we after? Because it's definitely the most challenging schedule since I've been the coach. But excited and like you said, to get these marquee matchups at Hermann Stadium is it's just helping us gain notoriety nationally, I think, with the program.
Like Peter mentioned, a lot of our fans they're basketball first,
Sure.
for better or worse. And the untrained eye will immediately go to the opponents like Notre Dame, like Arkansas, the ranked teams that you've brought in. But this schedule, like Peter also said, is strong top to bottom. And what I always like to do is get to who should the fans be looking at that maybe they're not? And maybe they're underestimating them because their basketball isn't very good, but they have a great soccer side.
I mean, so Xavier's still they're in the top 25 as well. Obviously, that's a road game, but I think, then you look at the home game. SIUE's been in the NCAA tournament the last 2 for sure, maybe longer streak than that seasons as well. And then Nebraska, I mean, out of the the Big Ten, they, hit or miss. They've been a consistent kind of top 50 program over the last 2 decades. And so there isn't a bad home game on the schedule. There also is all of the home games that we have in the non-conference slate. They're all teams that likely could be playing in November. And that's really when Chris Allen and Chris really takes the lead of the schedule. And I kind of say yes or no as he brings opponents to us. But that was our plan, was like, let's play all teams that have chance to be in the NCAA tournament.
So you've talked before about you really like to have a variety of style of play that you face in your schedule, but I guess that's not as true about variety of quality opponent. So in so many sports, and including yours, I mean, teams also want to have a couple of, tune-up games, maybe some games they could throw some other lineups. Like they know it's an opponent they're supposed to beat, but it doesn't seem like you've given yourself any easy games at all here.
No, we haven't. I mean, listen, like Drake, they could absolutely win the MVC this year, but I think
Yeah.
we have our team, this current team, in a place where that really was a tune-up game. We were able to play 22 players, really significant minutes, and I think if we are able to on some of these games perform as expected, then we can challenge our depth. But we're also in a different place. Like this is an experienced group. We're healthy. We really wanted to push them more so than maybe previous years where you're trying to gain some confidence in winning, trying to teach them how to win. This group knows how to win. Now it's, can we do it at the highest possible level?
I think you mentioned the Drake game, and I think fans that watched it on TV that may not have watched, that may have watched Arkansas and they watch a lot of the home games. But I know it's not much of a difference playing on a field that's made for like that has football lines, but for you, do you even notice it anymore, or is it just kind of
Listen, we love Herman. I mean, that's
right?
the field I'd love to play every game on. And don't get me wrong, like I think it's challenging to go play on a pretty narrow 68 yards wide compared to the 75 that Herman is, 120, so it's long and skinny. Um, it's bouncy. Football fields just play tight. But I told the team I didn't want to hear one peep about it from them because like we go to LaSalle. And if anybody's ever been to LaSalle, it is narrow, skinny, bouncy turf. Same thing. We go to Duquesne, which is football field, kind of strange turf to play on. And so it is a different game, but if we're going to win at the rate that we expect to win, we have to play on those types of field and get results because that's what our conference, those are the challenges the conference brings.
So last season was kind of a tough start, losing a lot of close games in non-conference play. And then, Zach and I, having followed this team last season, we thought that SLU was like often just as good or better than the opponent, but it just couldn't score a lot of times. This season, you've got 4 goals in the first 2 regular season games and have outscored preseason opponents 13-0. With such a similar roster, what do you think is behind such a dramatically different start?
Listen, it's similar, but it's not. I think anyone who's watched us play over the last 3 years would be foolish to not recognize the impact that Hannah Larson makes on the game, that Emily Grork makes on the game, and I think both of them are in their best form they've been in since they've been in the program. I would also say, Hannah Frederick was nursing like a kind of hamstring issue last fall, and Larson and Gork just make Frederick better. And Caroline Kelly and Emily Gaebe were effectively freshmen last fall. Caroline was redshirt freshman. Gaebe is a true freshman. And so we're talking about our front 4 just all being in way better positions. Gaebe didn't really come on strong until the A10, and here she is out of the gate, I thought being, if not the best, one of for sure the best players on the field against Arkansas. And so I think it's a healthier group in better places for all these reasons. And we're able to get about 70, 80 quality minutes out of Hannah Larson, and those had to be filled by freshmen last year. And it's just not the same. In the same way that like Anna Lawler in the midfield, her health and is just another really special player to be able to plug in there. So it is very, very similar. But I can't tell you how much different it feels, even on a day in a training and on a daily basis. And we had a bunch of other issues we were dealing with and had to clean up. And I think it's paying dividends now. It was painful to go through, but we're in a good spot culturally as well.
Julia Simon was injured earlier on this, I think preseason. Forgive me, I've been on vacation for the last week.
You got a great tan, Zach.
Thank you. Thank you. It goes away about November, and I'm white as the wall behind me at that point. But how is she doing, and is there an outlook, and how does that change your kind of game plan going forward?
Yeah, I mean, Julia is a steal off the portal for us. I mean, she led Louisville in points, goals last year. Um, and she played fantastic soccer all summer. And she was doing really well in preseason. I mean, she's going to be special. Unfortunately, she had a season-ending injury in preseason. She's going to have surgery here in the next few weeks. So, still plotting out exactly what that plan is, but that's definitely the case. The good news is we get her for 3 years after that. Obviously, the bad news is we don't get the fruits of that this season, but that's okay. I think it's, for her, obviously it's a challenge to be the new person and right away have a season-ending injury, but she's been phenomenal. She's got a great soccer brain, and I think she's really helping others see it and trying to really put this year to use as best she can. So we're bummed, but excited for kind of what's ahead. And if Larson and Grook are any indication what it looks like to come back from injury, I like our chances with her.
A lot of teams have we talk about the injury to Julia Simon, and when somebody gets injured, every team leans on next woman, next man up. You have a motto, and it's been in the hashtag on Twitter, HTR, hold the rope. I think I have that right. I hope I have that right.
You're right.
And when I got a little tour from Chris and oh my God, why am I Chris and Janet, sorry, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. I know, I don't know how I did that. But I got a little tour of the locker rooms, and
what do you think?
They're great. I would put a beer garden on top, though. That's all I'm saying.
You're not wrong. You got a few more million.
Let me check my couch cushions. But no, so explain to Billiken fans what hold the rope means, because when I got the tour, I saw the rope, and I'm trying to recall whether it was headbands or if it was tape around the rope.
It's actually scalps of
opponents
we have beaten. Just
wow,
kind of warm and fuzzy about it. No, so the kind of the idea and the concept comes out of the book Legacy. I'm like searching because there's usually a copy within reach of me. There's not right now, but it's about the New Zealand All Blacks. And we've actually, I mean, we're going back 8-ish years now, 7-8 years now, and kind of struggling. I was struggling with identity for the team. Like I knew what I wanted it to look like. I knew how I wanted the culture to operate, but was really struggling to kind of bring my words to life. And Will Bradley, he was longtime associate head coach of baseball. And he's a really, really good friend of mine. His son's obviously moved on to Tampa Bay Rays. But I was walking down the hallway after finishing like 8-8 after my second season. And he was like, hey, this is what you're talking about. Like, read this book. It'll bring it to life. And so anyway, so the rope, it actually, like, there's a whole section, a page in there that talks about the All Blacks and their rope of life. And it's like honoring their past, the legacy, celebrating the future, and then celebrating the present and planting seeds for the future. And so we got this idea of, I'm sure when you were in there too, you saw the mountain that we have that we talk about kind of, did you see that?
I think just the rope was the one that stuck out.
So kind of next to the rope is the mountain. And like, we look at every season through the lens of like climbing a mountain. Top is a national championship, and then all the steps it takes along the way. Well, obviously climbing mountains, you use ropes. And so this tradition has come out of there that, if you're able to walk in the locker room, you can look at every single person. And if you were to slip off that mountain, would you trust anyone in there to essentially like hold the rope and pull you back up? And vice versa, would they trust you? And then it's from everything from like, do they trust you from team defending, knowing where you belong on set pieces, doing your job, on the attacking, on being unselfish on the attacking side. Off the field, do they trust your behaviors on Sunday night? Do they trust you, to come in fit and hold, and like this idea of, all hands on the rope, and kind of how we celebrate that. We recognize somebody for living a core value on Tuesday, and then they're like physically in possession of that rope. Our team leadership does that. But then after, like Thursday night after the game, I went to the little freshman who was in possession of the rope for her mentality. And I said, like, okay, Claire, who best held the rope in this game against Arkansas? And that person then gets awarded, like, by her, the scalp, which is the color. So it was red for Arkansas, the team we just beat. And that player gives a little why she picked our center. I don't love picking two, but she picked our center backs, which makes sense in a game like that. They were freaking warriors and just getting pounded for 90 minutes. Um, and so then after the game, they go in the locker room, they write the opponent, the date, and the score on it, and they tie it on, and then that like becomes the celebration of it. And then if you see in there's some white ones, and when a senior class is done and their like time on the rope, they tie a white on and they sign it and write their number. And so then you kind of see your history. We tie black when we lose to still recognize it. But it's really early on, we were like, winning's hard, like let's enjoy it. And now it's become this really cool story that we use. And we have every year we have different like team buildings. Kind of Chris Allen and I come up with them, and they come out of typically ideas that then connect back to the rope for the team. So long-winded, but it's kind of a unique cultural centerpiece for us.
I was searching for a free solo joke in there after you said you need a rope to climb a mountain.
Yeah,
I had nothing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't use a rope.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. Do you have a favorite, hold the rope moment, or a selection that was made?
Man, we've been doing it now so many.
We've never had a pass, but I'll give you this one. I mean, you just beat number 8 Arkansas. I'll give you a pass for it.
I don't know. I love the hold the rope moment, like the moment in the huddle when it's actually like something pretty unseen. Like, if I'm being honest, I would have probably given it to Sydney Beach. She subbed into right back. We're kind of getting shredded on the left flank at the beginning of the second half, and she stepped into right back and like locked it down. And to me, that's like more the moments we're talking about. But so I love when the players see that stuff rather than like the kid who scored the goal or played 90 minutes.
Right. So the locker room and the facility around it, kind of curious about the impact that it's had in this short time that you've been using it. As fans, we always love the kind of big new shiny thing, but what are the practical advantages of having that facility available now?
I mean, I think for our team, it's like a place to be, like a place to hang out, a place to like spend some time together. And I think relationship wise, it builds culture, it builds environment. For us, I mean, we're able to do like pre-practice film in there and like have it be productive, and then you're right out on the field. You're not like coming out of the bowels of Chaffetz, and it's just like flow wise, I think it professionalizes the environment. Obviously having athletic training in there as well. So there's just some real like utilitarian things, but I have to admit, we used to, in recruiting, I think we've done pretty well for ourselves, but a lot of it was like our personalities and like the people, and like our team is amazing, spend some time with them. But now it's, you walk a recruit in there and it's an audible, like, wow, like you hear it. And for us, it's like, oh yeah, that's nice. That helps. And so I think, will we know full impact right away? No, but I think it's already, again, it's fulfilling the narrative of a program that we believe we're building that is nationally relevant, and not just relevant, but competitive, among the best. And now, like, they're not just saying it, there's investment and belief on kind of on a higher level of what that looks like. And so I just think we always tell our team, like, people invest in what they believe in, and this just tells you people believe in you and believe in our vision. And so I think it's a game changer, to be honest, for the men and the women.
I think the most on-brand thing that for me that I loved walking in there was the frosted showers with the logo. I just thought that was so damn cool, and I wanted one. Cool. And I wanted one.
I've never been in a bathroom that nice. I mean, it's fancy. Now, all credit to Janet, man. She was relentless about like the detail and the tile matching our blue. Like she made it first class for sure.
Yeah, I think if you listen to us, if anybody's listening to us, the thing that I get, it's frustrating because I'm not really a great attention to detail guy, but I'll harp on it when other people fall short. And but I think that was really what caught me too, was the details in it, and it's just a really beautiful facility, and I I I think it's perfect for you guys. You guys like. I mean, like you said, you were using the personality, and to be fair, you guys have really great personality and really great coaching staff. And I think adding that, that shiny sports car to the mix is only going to make you more attractive to. I mean, then the ceiling is limitless at this point with that. Um, Talk to me about this Arkansas game. What was the kind of the mindset going into it? How did you feel about where you stood in comparison and the game plan?
Yeah, I think, I mean, just overall, we really early on talked with the team. I mean, I think it was like the first or second day of preseason, and all throughout the spring. Like when we got our ass kicked by, excuse my language, we got our ass kicked by Rutgers in the
I have to
second round, and
apologize to you.
that was my first game in of recent time, like let's say since 2015, 16, that like we got smacked. And so in that post game huddle, I said to the team, like, hey, that's what we're chasing. Like, that's it. That's the level. That's where we want to be. That's for all of us, like players, recruits, recruiting, coaches, administration. Like, that's what we're chasing. And so, no, as coaches, I think we kind of look back at that game and say, man, maybe we should have done some different things, but hey, you have to play it to know it. And so then, we talked about it throughout the spring with the team, but then as we rolled into preseason, for those that don't know, like actually then the game after us, that Sweet 16 game, was Rutgers versus Arkansas, and Rutgers beat Arkansas in penalty kicks. So 2-2, beat them in PKs. And so we told our team, like, hey, you don't have to wait for Rutgers in the NCAA tournament. Like, they're coming to Herman Stadium on August 18th. Like, here's your time to prove how you've grown, to prove where we're at, to prove that we belong. And so, like, I think that clicked really well with the team. Like, that resonated with them. And I think, even they came back fitter than they've ever come back. And I think it's an older group, more experienced group. But I also think they came back fit because they knew Arkansas was coming. Like they weren't, they were ready. And so credit to them for the preparation. So I think early on it was a very built up game. I mean, we talked about it a lot in the preseason, to the point where I think the team was pretty sick of it and just ready for the game. If I'm being honest, but then I got to give, I mean, Chris Allen, he did the scout, and he's a teacher. He's like a master educator. And in the pregame scout, I mean, he made him human. Like he all of a sudden, like, he's like, listen, we're not playing, like, this isn't the Miracle on Ice. Like, we're not playing Russia. He's like, we've done this before. And he pulled up the headline from when we beat him in the spring of 2020. And he just broke it down. And he said, if we do this, this, and this, and like one of them was the physical component, if we win 55% of 50/50s, we win the game. And like he like really broke it down and like gave them measurable things to say, like, this is how we're going to approach this game. You do this, we win. And so when you say, like, you do this, we win, I think you really instill some belief, that we belong in the team. And so we knew we belonged, but I think it was really a masterful way. And again, I'm not taking the credit. I think it's like collectively how we approached it. But then in that pregame meeting, to take like this scary idea of a team that beat us 4-0 or 3-0, and all of a sudden, no, it was 4-0, and all of a sudden, take them to something that was completely human and within our reach. And so I think um, that was great, and that's why he is who he is, and he's really really good at preparing our team on game day in those moments.
So it sounds to me like you think bridging that gap was it more mental than physical? Because to kind of back up a little bit, Zach and I and a couple other people had this conversation. We mentioned this on our last show that just released today, but
I listened to you in preparation.
oh, you did?
I heard
Okay.
you.
All right.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Oh no, how far did she get
I'm
in the
prepared.
episode is what I want to know.
No, I heard it all.
We were kind of having this higher level conversation about like where does this program actually stack up? Because Rutgers, we saw that game and it was just like, oh wow, are they just like that next level program that we're just not there yet?
Yeah.
And is it just a matter of, you know, gradually building up toward that? But watching the team this year, it's a totally different speed. There's just a level of like confidence and playing a cohesive game. And I didn't see the gap at all against Arkansas. If anything, I mean, SLU was the better team out there. So I'm wondering, like, do you feel like Rutgers was an aberration? Because like it sure looked like, oh wow, they just ran into an incredible team.
Yeah, I think we ran into a buzzsaw who was flying at the time, and we were probably very much hanging on at that point in a little bit. I would say Rutgers. So listen, there's different, as you guys know, like there's going to be good matchups and bad matchups for your team. Like Arkansas is a great matchup for us. Like it just is. I think there's going to be teams on our schedule that presents different, more challenging matchups for, I could go into all the different reasons, tactically, technically, athletically, all these things, maybe a little more sophisticated soccer, etc. And I think Rutgers was an incredibly challenging matchup, but I would also say they had the night of their lives. I mean, the kid hit the freshman Tiernan. She hit three goals from like 25 yards out, and like to beat Emily Puricelli kind of top corner in those, like that's hard to do. And we kind of coughed up the first one, and so I think you give up a really bad early goal against like that, and like they smell blood. I mean, we do that to people.
Right.
And so I think it was not our best night. Rutgers had a phenomenal night, but also, like, don't get me wrong, I don't think talent we were even by any means. Their center forward is starting in the NWSL right now.
Right.
And so, you know, they were a senior laden experienced group. But I will also tell you, like, as I kind of started at the beginning, Hannah Larson and Emily Rourke change us. They just change.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to see that game with those two on the field, to be honest.
We said it last year, and now it's good to actually see that in practice. But they really are kind of that difference. I mean, that scoring punch just wasn't there, you know, to the extent last year.
So, I don't know. Again, do I think we're a Final Four team, which Rutgers was last year? Like, a lot of things got to go your way and go right.
Sure.
But I think that was there's a lot of reasons I could explain that game and that specific result. But we'll see. We're 1 or 2 games in, and I'm not willing to say, we've earned any sort of top tier status at this point.
I'm curious because there was talk, and I guess I don't even remember if I mentioned it on the podcast, but I talked about somebody complaining about the refs and the physicality, and how much do you pay attention to who's officiating at all, or if any?
I don't.
Yeah.
I cared a lot about the refs when it was like year 1 through 3 when we were struggling to get results. Sorry.
Hey, we like honesty.
We just struggle. I mean, it's just struggle. So everything felt harder. And I've just stopped caring about the referees. That we have to be good enough that it's not a non-factor. I thought he did a good job. He's a guy we see a lot. And you know, I told him post game, I said, listen, that's a hard game to call for a lot of reasons. And he's like, man, it felt like an NCAA tournament game. And so I thought he did a good job. I mean, I think for us, we knew Arkansas, they're physical. Now, so are we. We can foul the heck out of you if you let us. So I thought he was really, really fair and even. And there's probably some beefs both ways, if I'm being honest.
Emily Gaebe is playing at like another level right now. I'm just kind of curious, like we've kind of talked about her a little bit already, but she really has made a huge leap, it seems, year over year, and just keeps getting better. Offensive player of the week this week? I mean, is it what is it with her? Is it just work ethic, or are we just kind of seeing the tip of the iceberg of her potential?
Listen, offensive player of the week, and it's like the worst goal she's ever scored, but it's
Yeah,
because,
it was not pretty.
she did her job. She did her job. She's supposed to be on the goalkeeper on set pieces. So
Yeah.
How does that when you're watching a game and your team is playing really well, not dominating, but getting really good chances, and then and chances to score really good looking goals, and then they score that kind of thing. What I mean, what is your kind of reaction to that? Like your honest reaction inside, not the reaction you're telling your team.
I literally don't care. Like 12 pass build up, that goal, it doesn't like it. It's hard to score goals. Like I could care less. And so I just joke like she gets offensive player of the week, and Emily Puricelli shuts two teams out, one being the top 10 team, and she doesn't get like, it's who cares about these awards? Like it's silly that she doesn't get that this week. But back to Gaebe. I think we're seeing the tip of the iceberg if I'm being honest. She's only a sophomore. And the coolest thing is we have two really talented nines, Caroline Kelly and Emily Gaebe. Caroline is the most competitive player on the team, annoyingly competitive at times in training. But they push each other. Like it's this beautiful competitiveness that's healthy. And Carol is celebrating the biggest when she scores. And so I think Gaby's just different. Like, listen, she was a player that like you watch score 1 million goals in high school soccer, like 1 million goals at Union High School. And you were like, does this thing translate? Like, does it work? Does it translate? And like, she's a natural talent. She loves to win. And she just does things that continuously surprise us. And like, the coolest thing about Emily is like, you can coach her so hard. Like you can tell her tough things, and like you can ride her and push her, and she kind of gets better and better. She doesn't take it personal. She doesn't get in her feelings. Like she's a tough player. And I think we're kind of tip of the iceberg, and we knew kind of what pushed us to say like she can do it is like she's a player that helps you beat a team like Arkansas because she's different. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Caroline Kelly's development as well, because they're two really interesting players kind of going head to head at times.
You mentioned in there Emily Puricelli, and it's funny because I was where I was at on vacation. A family friend actually is kind of a contemporary on the low. I think she's a junior in college, and she was a goalkeeper at Lewis and Clark. And she just gushed over Puricelli and how good she was. What does a goalie do like that? What does a goalie like that do for a team? And secondly, when you get into play against the bottom half of the A10 at times, you have games where she's kind of just standing there. How do you kind of like? Do you worry a little bit, or is she just kind of locked in and able to get by that kind of boredom?
She's unbelievable. Like she is, and listen, she's cut from a different goalkeeper cloth. Like I was a goalkeeper, Olivia Silverman, our assistant, were goalkeeper, and like we were these like kind of spastic, really intense, kind of in your face type goalkeepers, and she is like,
I feel that.
We probably do. Like cool as the other side of the pillow. Like, you there? Like you wake at times, but man, she's so consistent and confident. I mean, she took a ball. You guys might not even seen this in the last like 15 seconds of the game off of her chest. It would have gone in the back of the net, but to kill some time. I'm like, what is she doing? But she's just unflappable. And so I think that in a game like Arkansas, like, she's just going to be dominant in the air, come out. They had 0 shots in the first half, but that's not for lack of Emily having to do things, to come take free kicks. And she just, she has a calming influence on the back. And she does stuff in training that like our team calls her a dream killer in training, because they think stuff's going in the back of the net, and like M just pops out of nowhere. And so I mean, she's pretty unbelievable in her abilities, and her consistency and her growth. But then I think in the A10, like the cool thing is there are games where she doesn't have much to do, but when she needs to do something, 99 out of 100 times she gets it done for us.
Yeah, I want to ask about one more specific player, Brie Halverson coming back for year 6. It wasn't, I didn't know that was going to happen necessarily last year, but it's pretty great, and I know how important she is to the team. But what can you say about just having that presence back for one more year?
What can't you say? I mean, she's the
Ball
best.
of energy.
I mean, she's the best. She's just, yes, ball of energy, dynamic player, like just leadership oozing out of her. The hard, like her and Hannah Larson in training are the two hardest working players. And when two of your best players are the hardest working players, it just brings everybody else with you. But she's like, she brings the young ones along. She challenges and pushes on the older ones. And like, I'm proud of her too, because she's had a lot of growth as a player. Like there's areas of her game that were struggles, and like she wants to be a pro, and like we've talked through them, and like she's put the work in and the attention to things that were struggles, and now they're strengths. And yeah, I mean, she's just like I was watching a future opponent, and I'm like kind of watching them. It's like they're good, but they have just like all the players are just kind of the same, right? They might have a front runner who's like pretty good, but like I literally said, I was like, there's just no Brie Halverson. Like there's no pop that like when the ball gets to her foot, she's gone. And then, like something special is gonna happen. Now she might give it away occasionally, but it's just yeah, I've never seen one like her. I don't know that we'll see one again, but of the players to have for 6 years, like what a treat.
You mentioned that leadership, and I think as much fun as she is to watch on the field, her injury season might have been like watching her on the sideline might have been just as fun. I mean, she just seems like the kind of person that could, you know, invite two groups of people that don't know each other to a party, and like it's the best party ever.
Yeah, like I'd want to be there. I mean, and she just in that season, that was her sophomore season, she just set the standard for what it looks like to be an injured player in our program, and like now everybody else has got to live up to that. So like even though Julia Simon never saw her injured, like that's then the model that Hannah Larson and Emily Rourke lived up to a year ago, and, and there's been others as well. But it's yeah, she's just she's one of a kind.
With a vet, like I mentioned earlier, we like to get into like the people that aren't getting the headlines or not
Yeah.
that fans might not be aware of. So with a veteran heavy roster and names that we've all heard before, whether on defense, offense, or in goal, is there a player out there or players that may not be getting the attention that are newcomers to the program or maybe sophomores or just becoming juniors that maybe didn't get much run last year?
Sure. I mean, I think Hannah Smith's a freshman. She's been getting her feet wet. She can fly. Like she can run like the absolute wind. She was phenomenal against Arkansas. Like, welcome to college soccer. Here's Arkansas. And she's blowing by them on the flank. She played about 60 minutes on Sunday. Hit the crossbar. But she's going to be special given some time and she's really, really coachable. That one's fun. I think the other one that's coming into her own is Katie Houck. She's actually a junior, but she's only in her second year with us. She transferred from Dayton. She's actually like the player that Brie Halverson kind of looks to and looks up to, which is a cool statement. And she's just hard as nails. She like does diving headers in training just to keep the ball from going out of bounds. And I think she's really kind of growing into something special in our back line. So I would say keep an eye on those two. And the one that never to me gets enough credit is Abby Miller. I know she's not new, but like Abby's just the spine of things, and she just most good things that come out of the midfield like start at Abby's foot, whether defensively or in the attack. And again, I don't think she gets enough credit for the work she does.
Not a terrible last name either.
It'll do.
Yeah. I'm curious. Katie Houck comes from Dayton. Yeah, that can't sit well with UD in general. I mean, I don't know if there's a question in there. I just think it's kind of a wild transfer given the program relation.
Yeah. No, Katie's a St. Louisan, so it's not a crazy transfer.
Well, I mean, for them, it's probably like, Jesus, they beat us on the field. Now they're taking our players.
Yeah, and it was the same. Like it was within like months of when the interconference transfer opened. So, but hey, we love her. We'll keep her. She's definitely ours now.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Yep.
So we had over 3,100 out to Herman for the Arkansas game last week, which we already said was the second largest home crowd in program history. I know you want the record against Notre Dame, but what's the specific number target we're looking to get to there?
I mean, I'd love to get it to 5. That's a big ask.
All right.
It's almost double, but I'd love to get it to 5. And I think, if you look at the crowd that was there Thursday night, there actually wasn't a ton of the youth, like the clubs. And we have a big push going on. And I know we're getting a significant amount of the major youth clubs coming Thursday night. So if we can get the return group from Arkansas and then add that club group, we should be pretty close.
Are you doing anything for students to kind of help drive some of them out there?
Yeah, it's part of the welcome, like their first week. It's not the men's welcome week thing, but it's within kind of that schedule. And so trying to have it be like around a kind of a freshman activity, similar again to what they do with the men, for sure. We're giving out donuts at the clock tower on Thursday morning to really push it. But
dang, I was hoping you were going to say at the gate. I was like, come on, no.
No. We got to get the butts there first. Yeah.
So I'll let you just kind of have the floor. Talk about the upcoming game. Tell our not our fans, our Billiken fans, our listeners, why they should come out, what to expect, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game will be phenomenal. I think it'll be a little bit more of a chess match than a boxing match like Thursday night was. I think this will be more of a pretty free-flowing soccer game. I mean, Notre Dame's 2-0. They'll definitely stay in the top 25. We're 2-0. We're snuck into one poll. We'll see what the other one comes out. So, you have potentially two of the best teams in the Midwest kind of going head to head. Local talent through and through our roster, shining kind of on the field. And I got to believe it's going to be, I think the stat came out, BK tweeted it today. We were 4th in attendance last week in terms of environment on the opening night. And I'd love to have it be first and keep making this place, as we say, the best environment in college soccer. So, again, I think it'd be a phenomenal next outing, and I wouldn't want to miss it Thursday night.
Have you talked to BK? Has he mentioned whether you guys have been ranked before? And I don't know. Like I looked and I couldn't find no ranked
in the
polls.
I mean, we were ranked that spring, that COVID year.
Okay, yeah.
We were also ranked. We blew it, but we were ranked in like 2018 or 19 as well.
Okay, yeah, I looked in the record book and just could not find anything specific.
But that spring team got up to like 17, I want to say.
Yeah, they were on quite the roll, I recall. Well, it's St. Louis University Billikens women's soccer versus number 16 Notre Dame at Herman Stadium. It's not going to be on ESPN Plus. Go to the stadium. No, I'm just kidding.
It'll be on.
Yes, it will. But if you're in St. Louis, you better be at Herman Stadium. Let's break that attendance record. Katie, thank you so much for joining the podcast and battling not only my annoying jokes and references, but also what appears to be a nasty cold there. Feel better. This podcast has been sponsored by Mucinex. And good luck. Good luck Thursday night. I know I'll be there, and it'll be a fun one.
Awesome, you guys. Thanks so much for having me.
No,
thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Bye, guys. Bye.